the first private development in Swiss Club after 33 years, Dunearn House. Is this a rare opportunity or are buyers paying a premium simply for its scarcity? Before we go further, hello, my name is Belle Tan. I help property owners navigate the market to avoid costly mistakes before they commit. So do like and subscribe to my YouTube channel to get regular updates to help you make better decisions. DM me or call me if you'd like to discuss your situation and we can work on it together. So today we'll start by looking at the Turf City transformation and the excitement in this location. Next, I will address the three biggest concerns I've heard from buyers. Do new launches in Bukit Timah really make money? Is buying a 99-year leasehold in a neighborhood full of freehold projects a disadvantage? And are the smaller unit types likely to underperform? And after that, we will evaluate the position of Dunearn House and whether it's a safe entry. Finally, and as usual, we'll walk through the project overview and unit layouts. So Turf City is located within the prestigious Bukit Timah area, an area well known for private homes, especially landed houses, its low density and exclusivity. And over the next 20 to 30 years, this highlighted area will be transformed into a new residential district with up to 20,000 new homes, including private as well as public housing. So Dunearn House, seated within the transformation and tomorrow's new and next lap of Turf City. So if you look at Singapore's recent development, the government has been trying to build new townships such as Tengah, Lentor, and Bayshore. Turf City is one of them for three main reasons. Firstly, it is to meet Singapore's future housing needs. Yes, our population is still growing. So around 15 to 20,000 homes are planned here. Of course, this transformation will not happen overnight. It will take up to 20 to 30 years before it's fully completed. Secondly, it's to bring public housing back to Bukit Timah. In fact, there hasn't been a new HDB project in Bukit Timah for almost 40 years. This allows more Singaporeans to live in an area traditionally dominated by private housing. And the third reason is to encourage a more car-like lifestyle. Similar to Tengah and Bayshore, Turf City will have extensive walking, cycling paths, and good public transport network. So together with 6th Avenue MRT and the future Turf City MRT station, residents may rely less on cars and enjoy a more convenient and sustainable lifestyle. So here we see what are planned for Turf City. The buildings in black are selected buildings or structures that the government plan to conserve due to their symbolic history. So 22 heritage buildings and the iconic grandstands will be kept and integrated into the new estate. So the whole estate is planned as a car-like district and a 10 minutes neighborhood, meaning public transport connectivity will be so good that residents will be able to reach parks, schools, transport nodes, and daily amenities within just a short walk or cycle from home. So when the whole transformation is completed, the area will be very convenient and highly livable for future residents. So the image on the left actually shows an artist's impression of how the North Grandstand will look like in future. So within a 5 minutes walk from future Turf City MRT station, residents can enjoy sports facilities, recreational spaces, and daily amenities. And what's exciting is not just a new home, but the conservation of the iconic grandstand, which we are very familiar with. So these structures will be transformed into new lifestyle and community spaces, giving Turf City a rejuvenated and unique identity. So as mentioned, Dunearn House sits within the Turf City transformation and the project is located here. Its close proximity to 6th Avenue MRT station, reputable schools and future amenities are likely to be the biggest selling point. So being in District 11, Bukit Timah is a very prestigious trophy address with many well sought after schools along this belt. Buyers naturally think that this location can't go wrong. However, the past few new launches in the area seem to have modest upside. Not that they don't make profits, just that when compared to other RCR, OCR launches around similar timing, these Bukit Timah projects make less. So will this be a concern if you buy Dunearn House? So let's take a look at some data. So very near Dunearn House and right smack at 6th Avenue MRT station is 4th Avenue Residences, TOP in 2023. So looking at the 2 and 3 bedrooms, which are the common unit types buyer go for, average profit range from 99K to 366K, and annualized 1.2% to 3%. So for 3 bedroom, the profits are still not so bad, but 2 bedroom is very low. Then Royal Green, a freehold project which is about 300 meters away, TOP in 2021, we see that the profits here are even lower. 74K for 2 bedroom and 208K for 3 bedroom. Annualized average is 0.8% to 1.9%. Then we move further down the road to Mayfair Gardens and Mayfair Modern, which are actually under District 21 Upper Bukit Timah Road, but since they are along the stretch, let's take a look. So both TOP in 2024, annualized profit for 2 and 3 bedrooms are 1.6% to 1.9% for Mayfair Gardens and 1.2% to 2.8% for Mayfair Modern. Again, pretty modest. So, do we conclude that Bukit Timah launches have low upsides and you shouldn't buy? I think rather than answering with a sweeping yes or no, more importantly, we need to understand why this is the case. So, profit is the result of entry versus exit pricing. So naturally, the entry price plays an important part in the equation since it's developer's price during the sales cycle, whereas exit price is more dependent on many other factors at the time of exit. So are you entering at a safe entry price? So take a look at these 3 projects launched around the same timing. So 4th Avenue in CCR entered at 42% higher than Park Esta in RCR and almost 80% higher than Treasure at Tampines in OCR. That's to say, in 2019, if you want to buy a project in CCR versus RCR, you have to pay 42% more, and CCR versus OCR, you have to pay 80% more. So fast forward to today, 4th Avenue's price growth has been much more muted at just 7.7% compared to 36% for Park Esta and 35% for Treasure at Tampines. And consequently, profits also take a hit. So why is this so? Because your starting price is already significantly higher than the comparable projects in the market. So resale buyers are more price sensitive, especially when they have choices. Paying that high premium becomes unjustifiable. That is why your entry price must be right. Then your profits can be maximized. Now let's take a look at another example. So in 2028, Daintree Residences in D21 Upper Bukit Timah was launched at around 12% higher than Affinity at Serangoon in the OCR. So for many buyers, this is relatively small premium to upgrade from an OCR location to an RCR location. So when a price gap is reasonable, buyers often ask themselves, why not pay a little more for a better location? That's why a modest premium can be justified. Now, compare with Mayfair Gardens. It's the same D21 RCR as Daintree, but it's launched at a 27% premium over Affinity, more than double Daintree's premium. Today, it has grown 10.6%, whereas Daintree has grown 19%. And in terms of profit, Daintree also enjoy higher returns than Mayfair Gardens. The point here again is entry price. So before buying Dunearn House, don't just ask whether Bukit Timah is a great location. Ask yourself whether the premium you're paying today is justified or whether it's already too far ahead of other alternatives. So here, I'd like to show you the price gap between CCR, RCR, and OCR over the past 10 years. So in the earlier examples we looked at, the launch years of these projects were in 2018 and 2019. And interestingly, those were the years CCR premium over RCR and OCR was among the widest in the decade. So that explains why some CCR projects had muted upside. Buyers were already entering at a gap that has already been stretched. But look at 2026. The gap between CCR and RCR has narrowed significantly to 19%. And even the gap between CCR and OCR is no longer as extreme as before. So this means that the entry point into CCR today may be more attractive due to the narrow gap because the gap will eventually widen, and we have already seen it happening. So let's put things into this context. Pinery residences sold at an average of 2546 PSF, whereas Vela Bay was launched at an average of 2886 PSF. Now, assuming Dunearn House launches at around 3000 PSF, compared to Vela Bay, you are paying 4% more for a home in the prestigious Bukit Timah district, and compared to Pinery, it's 18%. So just think about it for a moment. For just a small premium, you are getting one of Singapore's most established residential addresses within walking distance to 6th Avenue MRT and the future Turf City MRT, and surrounded by renowned schools and benefiting from the long-term Turf City transformation. So compared with what buyers are already paying elsewhere in OCR, personally, I think if Dunearn House launches around this level, it will represent one of the more compelling entry opportunities into Bukit Timah we have seen in recent years. So don't just look at the PSF and say, whoa, 3,000 is so high. 4th Avenue entered at 2,400 and was high at that time, and therefore it didn't profit much. But look at the gap instead with RCR and OCR and what buyers are already willing to pay in this region today. So let's address one of another big concerns around Dunearn House. Why buy a 99-year leasehold when there are so many cheaper freehold alternatives nearby? So within just 1 kilometer radius to Dunearn House, you'll find numerous freehold developments such as 5th Avenue condominiums, Floridian, Maplewoods, 6th Avenue, and so on. So it's natural many buyers will ask, if I'm buying in Bukit Timah, shouldn't I buy a freehold property instead? It's a fair question, but does freehold automatically translate into better performance? So let's take a look at two projects that are almost neighbor. 4th Avenue Residences, 99-year leasehold versus Royal Green, a freehold project. Since launch, 4th Avenue has appreciated by around 12%, whereas Royal Green has a slight decrease. Why? We saw earlier that entry price and price gap from alternatives can affect profitability to a large extent. Then when it comes to exit, it comes down to market demand, supply dynamics, and the value buyers perceive at the point of resale. So while freehold is certainly a valuable attribute, it doesn't automatically guarantee better investment return. Now let's look at another example, 99 years versus 999 years. Here we have Duchess Crest, 99-year leasehold project, TOP in 1999, and Duchess Residences, a 999-year development, TOP in 2011. So they are located just next to each other, making this even more meaningful comparison. Since launch, 999-year Duchess Residences has grown by 8.6%, and for the same period, 99-year Duchess Crest has grown by 110%. This again reinforces an important point. Tenure alone does not determine investment performance. And the takeaway here from these two comparisons isn't that leasehold outperform freehold and you shouldn't buy freehold in Bukit Timah. It's that buyers shouldn't choose a property based on tenure alone. In fact, if you can secure a freehold development at a meaningful discount to a 99-year launch, that's definitely worth considering. Now, let's take a look at this example between Mayfair Modern and the Cascadia. Mayfair Modern is 99 years and Cascadia is freehold. And both are not far from King Albert Park MRT. Mayfair is 171 units and Cascadia is 536 units. And its land size is almost 3 times of Mayfair Modern. Here we look at a 2-bedroom and a 3-bedroom transaction for both projects bought and sold around the same time. So 2-bedroom holding period, 4 year plus. In Mayfair, the profit is 70k, whereas in Cascadia, the profit is 500k. Looking at the entry price, Mayfair was bought at 2143 PSF, whereas Cascadia was bought at 1677 PSF. This is a 28% or 250k cheaper. For such a discount, for a freehold, bigger land size project with more facilities, it makes sense. And then we see that 3-bedroom holding period of 3 year plus. For Mayfair Modern, it was 212k, and for Cascadia, it was 380k. So what are we saying from this example? Despite being the newer project, Mayfair Modern delivered lower profits because buyers entered at a higher price compared to a bigger freehold development. So ultimately, buyers recognize value when they see it. If you get freehold at a much cheaper price in the same location, especially when the land size is much bigger, why not? So this brings us to the most recent project launched in this area, Dunearn House, which is now fully sold. It's a freehold project, 180 units, launched in November 2023. So unit types here start from 3-bedroom, and you can see that the floor plates are quite big. Average PSF in Dunearn House for 3-bedroom, 3259 PSF or 5.02 million, and for 4-bedroom, it's 3319 PSF, 6.1 million. In terms of PSF, if Dunearn House launches at 3000 PSF, it's only about 8 to 10% cheaper than Dunearn House, which makes Dunearn House very attractive for a freehold project because it's only a small 8 to 10% premium to pay. But here's the challenge. Because the project consists mainly of large unit types, the overall purchase quantum becomes very substantial. So a typical 3-bedroom unit here will cost 5 million and a 4-bedroom will cost more than 6 million. Now, compare with Dunearn House. If it launches at around 3000 PSF, a 3-bedroom will cost about 2.9 million and a 4-bedroom about 3.9 million. So there's a difference of 2 million. In this case, while freehold may make sense on a PSF basis, the reality is that the entry quantum places it out of reach for many buyers. So sometimes a well-priced 99-year leasehold project provides a much more accessible entry into a premium location than a freehold project with a significantly higher purchase quantum. So in summary, the above examples are not to say leasehold beats freehold. The conclusion is that freehold doesn't automatically beat leasehold either. Investment performance is driven by several factors, not just tenure. So when it comes to Dunearn House, the questions buyers should ask are, am I entering at the right price? Am I paying a reasonable premium over comparable projects? And does this purchase leave enough room for future capital appreciation? We will come back to these questions later because now I want to touch on another concern. And that is the historical performance of smaller unit types in recent launches. Recent projects like 4th Avenue, Mayfair Gardens, Mayfair Modern have unit types starting from 400 plus square feet for 1-bedder and 600 plus square feet for 2-bedder. In Bukit Timah, the older projects here rarely have 1-bedder and 2-bedder size are from like 1,000 square feet onwards. Dunearn House is also a project with small unit types. 2-bedrooms start from 527 square feet and 3-bedrooms from 872 square feet. So is it risky then to buy such small units? When we look at the profits of 1 and 2 bedrooms in these 3 newer projects, they range from 95K to 138K. So 4th Avenue even have buyers suffering losses. So the profits I would say here are not like bad, but they pale in comparison to RCR projects like Park Esta, where profits are like 172K to 400K for 1 and 2 bedders. So what are buyers in for if they buy small units in Dunearn House? So we saw earlier, over the coming years, Turf City will be transformed into an entirely new residential precinct with around 15,000 to 20,000 new homes, private and public housing. As this community matures, it will create a much larger pool of future owner-occupiers and upgraders within the same neighborhood. It won't be immediate because it's going to take 2 to 3 decades. For many HDB owners looking to take their first step into private property, a 2 or 3 bedroom unit is often the most attainable option. This doesn't guarantee smaller units will outperform, but it does provide an additional layer of demand. So in other words, while I will remain selective on smaller units, the long-term Turf City transformation could help to support demand for these affordable entry-level homes and could change the Bukit Timah atasness, which is exactly what the government wants in the first place by introducing public housing in prime areas. So I wouldn't write off the smaller units just because of historical performance. The scene in this area will change and future buyer profile in Turf City could be very different from what we have seen in the past. So today, Dunearn House is likely going to attract buyers who aspire to own a home in Bukit Timah at a manageable purchase quantum. Its smaller unit sizes provide this accessible entry into one of Singapore's most prestigious residential districts. So we are looking at existing private homeowners who want to move to Bukit Timah, families who want to stay near prestigious school, and buyers who believe in the long-term transformation story of the city. And not forgetting HDB upgraders in this area. However, I'd like to point out more about this group, the future HDB upgraders, because it's important to understand the timeline. So let's assume the first HDB projects will launch around 2027 to 2028. By the time construction ends and residents collect their key, it will be 2032 to 2034. And with the 10-year MOP, they are likely to exit only earliest by 2042 to 2044. So that's approximately 15 to 18 years from today. So yes, future HDB upgraders can become a source of demand, but buyers need to understand that these HDB upgraders will come in much, much later. Now that we have addressed the few major concerns, we come back to these questions buyers should ask. Am I entering at the right price? Am I paying a reasonable premium over comparable projects? And does the purchase leave enough room for future capital appreciation? Let's evaluate. So, Dunearn House GLS was heavily contested in 2025 with 9 developers bidding for the plot of land. So we can get a sense of how confident developers are in a location by the number of bids and bid price. So the land was finally awarded to Fraser Property, CK House, and CSC Land joint venture. So the price awarded was 1410 PSF PPR, and it narrowly beat CDL by just $50 PSF PPR, or about 3.7%. So based on this land cost, how much do you think the estimated launch price will be? So if we look at recent launches, their land costs and their average launch prices, River Modern will be a good benchmark. Its land price was 1420 PSF PPR, very close to Dunearn House 1410 PSF PPR, and it launched at an average of 3279 PSF. So if Dunearn House follows the same trend, it possibly might launch between 28 to 34 to achieve an average of 32 PSF. This is really a guesstimate based on historical info we have, but I think it's a pretty sensible guess. So maybe the developer will launch lower at launch to push the units. So assuming the launch price is around 28 to 34, how safe is this price? So looking at CCR upcoming land plots, the next 2 in Holland are higher, and the next plot in Dunearn is even higher at 1625. In fact, all the upcoming land costs are higher. So if Dunearn House launches at 3,200 PSF, what will be the launch prices for all these future projects? We don't need to look very far actually. If we look at just next door, the plot was awarded at 1625 PSF PPR. It's 215 PPR or 15% higher. So that already cushioned the price for Dunearn House buyers. And based on the land cost of the upcoming GLS sites, a buyer looking to buy a 1,000 square feet home could potentially be paying 146K more for the Dover site, 250 more for the neighboring site, 320 more for the River Valley site, and 455K more for Peck Hay site. So my point here isn't to say that you must buy Dunearn House. It's simply to show you what's upcoming. Sometimes the value of purchase only becomes obvious when you compare with alternatives available in the future. And we saw this graph earlier on the gap between CCR, RCR, and OCR. So in 2025, the gap was narrower. In 2026, it widens slightly. So what can we expect in 2027 or 28? We saw land costs increasing with each plot of land in CCR. So giving us a signal that launch prices will only get higher. So is it safe to enter CCR before the gap widens further? So maybe by plotting everything down, it's easier to see. If you look at the market, recent OCR, CCR, and RCR resale transactions are around 2007 XX to 3,200 PSF. And the latest RCR launches have moved to around 2008 to 3005 PSF, while recent CCR new launch have reached 2,900 to 3,800 PSF. Today, if Dunearn House were to launch around 2,800 to 3,400 PSF, being a GFA harmonized project and the first residential in Turf City. So in my opinion, that puts buyer in a relatively safe entry position compared to where future projects are likely to be priced due to their higher land prices. So if that happens, Dunearn House buyers could benefit from a first mover advantage, giving them a pricing cushion and stronger upside potential. Of course, nobody can guarantee future prices, but based on today's land bids, I believe Dunearn House offers one of the safer entry points in the CCR if you're thinking about own stay or for investment while waiting for future capital appreciation. Let's take a look at the project now. In terms of location, this location needs no introduction. It's home to many well-known schools such as MGS, Hwa Chong Institution and JC, Nanyang Girls, and National JC. So, Dunearn House is located here along Dunearn Road in District 11, part of the Bukit Timah planning area, Swiss Club subzone. So it's about 500 meter to 6th Avenue MRT station, about 5 to 7 minutes walk, and it will be around 7 minutes walk to the upcoming Turf City MRT on the Cross Island line. If you'd like to clock your 10,000 steps faster, you can also walk to King Albert Park MRT, but that's going to take about 10 to 12 minutes. And this will be the tallest private project in Bukit Timah Turf City area because of its 2.4 plot ratio, whereas the rest of the existing developments around there are mainly 1.4. So project-wise, this is a 380 units residential development, 2 blocks of 19 story and 3 blocks of 10 stories. Bedroom type is from 2 bedroom to 4 bedroom premium plus study, sitting on a site area of 13,492 square meter. So car park is in the basement, 288 lots, inclusive of 7 EV lots and 3 accessible lots. So this is like 60% provision because Turf City is planned as a car-light estate. So 64 bicycle lots, about half in level 1 and half in the basement. This is a joint venture between Fraser's Property, CSE Land and CK3 House. So the expected TOP is end December 2030. So this is how the majestic project will look like. So these 3 blocks here are the 10-story blocks, and these 2 blocks here are the 19-story blocks. These 3 blocks here belong to the luxury collection, and the 19-story belongs to the Pinnacle collection. So in terms of elevation, there's an elevation in the land. So from Dunearn Road to the end of the development, it's about 11 meter, which is about 3 stories. So your 19 stories here is actually about 22 stories high. So here are some artist impression of the project. This is the very nice drop-off area, 50-meter lap pool, the kids pool. So your well-equipped gym with outdoor fitness. And then you have a waterfall club overlooking the cascading waterfall. So there you are. This is Dunearn House. So facing this way will be Dunearn Road, and facing this way will look to Turf City, and the whole Turf City is undergoing rejuvenation. So in terms of site map, here are the 3 10-stories blocks belonging to the luxury collection, and we have mainly the 2 to 3 bedrooms and the 2 19-story blocks belonging to the Pinnacle collection, and this consists of the 3 to 4 bedrooms. So for the Pinnacle collection, there are 4 units per level, and for the luxury, it's 8 units per level. So the 3 bedrooms will flank the corner of the blocks, and the in-between blue color are the 2 bedrooms. But what I like is that the corner here are all the 2 bedroom plus study. So which means you will have naturally ventilated bathrooms and kitchen. Then, access into the development. The main gate won't be along Dunearn Road. There will be a side road that goes into the development, so you don't need to be worried about the traffic along Dunearn Road. So for a project that's 380 units, there are 4 side gates, which is quite a lot. So we will have one next to the main entrance. Then second one goes to the bus stop after Swiss Club Road. And the third one let you walk to 6th Avenue MRT station. And there is this fourth one that will lead to a future road that is being under study now. So more details will follow later. And on this side, we will also have a pedestrian walkway that's under study. So let's look at the layouts now. First, the unit mix. So this project consists of 2-bedroom to 4-bedroom premium plus study, size ranging from 527 to 1378 square feet. So this belongs to the luxury collection located in the 10-story blocks. The 3 premium and all the 4 bedrooms belong to the Pinnacle collection in the 19-story block. Okay. Note, the typical ceiling height here is 2.875 meter, and those units facing Dunearn Road will come with acoustic blinds. This is a harmonized project, non-PPVC, which means certain walls can be removed. And the difference between Pinnacle collection and luxury collection is mainly in the kitchen appliances, sanitary ware, provision, and of course the materials used. First, 2-bedroom, 527 square feet comes in B1 and B1A. They are actually mirror image. So 2 stacks each, and they are all Dunearn Road facing. What's quite impressive about 527 is that the developer managed to have an enclosable kitchen, and consequently there's a nice corner here for the dining table. So I would say it's a very efficient layout for own stay. Next, 2-bedroom premium, 3 layouts, 614 square feet, BP1, 1A, and 2. So BP1 and 1A are mirror image. This is 2-bed, 2-bath, dumbbell design. So they are all together 8 stacks, and they are all inward facing. The only difference here is really in the position of the DB box. So for BP1 and 1A, you see that it's outside the kitchen. So that makes this wall longer and the dining table is more hidden. Whereas the DB box in BP2 is outside the bathroom, and consequently this has a shorter wall and the dining is more exposed. So 2-bedroom plus study comes in 3 sizes, 657, 667 and 678 square feet. Total of 6 stacks, 2 each. 667 are pool facing, whereas the other 2 are all Dunearn Road facing. So they are located at the corner of the blocks, which means all the bathrooms and kitchen come with window. So this comes with an open study, and the wall between the study and dining can be removed for a bigger dining area if you need. And the kitchen is enclosable. So the difference between 667 and 657 is the kitchen is slightly bigger in 667. And between these two, the difference is in the foyer area. So out of all the 7 2-bedroom layouts, my favorite would be 667. Next, 3-bedroom and 3-bedroom plus flexi. 3-bedroom, 872 square feet, 2 stacks, inward facing. A very nice compact 3-bedroom, efficient layout with household shelter. And this is good enough for a small family. Bathrooms and kitchens also come with window. 3-bedroom plus flexi. C2, 936 square feet, comes in 2 stack, also inward facing. So the difference between 963 and 872 is that the kitchen is bigger and it comes with an extra WC. And instead of a household shelter, it is a flexi room, and this wall here can be removed if you need a bigger dining space. So for these 2 layouts, I like that both of them have a privacy corner at the foyer where you can build extra storage here. Next, 3-bedroom plus study. 2 sizes, 947 square feet and 969 square feet, 1 stack each, and both are inward pool facing. But this comes with household shelter and study with window. All bathrooms and kitchen have windows as well. So this is very good layout for own stay. They have everything, and the study is almost like a mini room. So 947 versus the previous 939 square feet. It has a slightly smaller kitchen and foyer, but it comes with an extra study room. And between these two, the difference is really mainly in the foyer area. And 969 has a slightly bigger kitchen. So of all the 3 bedrooms, 947 will be my favorite because it has everything. But if it runs out on booking day, 936 can be a good second alternative. We are done with the luxury collection. Now we are into the Pinnacle collection. 3 bedroom premium 1001 square feet belongs to the Pinnacle block. 2 stacks, so there's a choice between outward facing and inward facing. So versus the 900 plus square feet 3 bedroom, this comes with a dry kitchen and yard in the kitchen. So I feel that the previous two 900 plus square feet 3 bedrooms are actually more value for money if you don't really need a dry kitchen. I prefer an extra study room to the dry kitchen. Next, 4 bedroom compact, 1184 square feet, 2 stacks, both outward facing and inward facing. Again, very functional, typical compact 4 bedroom layout. They are the same except this RC ledge outside bedroom 4, which is non-strata. This doesn't come with a junior master with ensuite bathroom. So if you need an extra bathroom, you can go for the 4 bedroom premium and comes in 2 sizes, 1302 square feet and 1313 square feet. 2 stacks, also 1 outside facing and 1 inside facing. So versus the compact 1184, this comes with an extra Jack and Jill bathroom in between bedroom 2 and 3. The kitchen is also bigger. There is no dry kitchen, but you get an island. So between the 2 sizes, the difference is really in the foyer area with an extra storage here and the outside RC ledge. So I feel there's no need to pay extra for this storage, and because it's inward facing, it's going to be more expensive as well. Final layout, 4 bedroom premium plus study, 1378 square feet, comes in 2 stacks, 1 outside facing and 1 inside facing. So this has a bigger master bedroom that comes with a walk-in wardrobe and an extra study room, and this wall here can be hacked away if you need a bigger master room. So this is very comfortable for own stay. So we've seen all the layouts in this project. The preview will start on the 10th of July and booking day on the 25th of July. We've come to the end of the video. So if you need more info or discussion on the project, contact me. I'm Belle Tan, and I hope to see you in the next episode.